Hello, this is Stef. Today we're going to see how to compile libx264. What is libx264? It is a library that allows you to generate videos that have an H.264 codec. So if you would like to encode a video with an H.264 codec in an efficient way and in the best way possible, you can use libx264. And we are going to compile it as library, but if you want, you can compile it as executable. I will show you how, both in debug and release. And so we are on Windows because we want to compile it with MSVC. We can get started. The first thing that we need to do is to enable the MSVC shell. So to enable the MSVC shell, we cannot do it directly because we need some inheritance by MSVC and all the environment in the build tools. So what we want to do is to first enable the build tools and then from there invoke the MSVC shell. So what you can do is to go to the start and then type x64. And here we go, x64 native tools command prompt for VS 2022. Otherwise, I have in the terminal, Windows terminal, I have it here, or you can access using Windows terminal here. I have an entry here in the configuration that is x64 native tools command prompt for VS 2022. So to enable an entry like this, I have plenty because I'm using a lot of stuff. So here under the settings, you can enable, add a new profile. And here I have x64 native tools command prompt for VS 2022. And here you have the things that you need to fill. Okay. So we open the x64 native tools command prompt for VS 2022. And the only thing that we need to do is to open the folder where we installed MSVC. So it is in MSVC 64. And then we need to invoke MSVC_shell.cmd. So we open it. And here we have a MSVC terminal. So we put it right here. Here we go. Good. Now, what we need to do is to navigate to the folder where we want to work. So because now we are in the home that is under the MSVC folder, where we want to go is to go to, in this case, I have it in my D drive. So /d/fmpegbuild. And then the first thing we need to do is to download the source code. So we can go to the CD sources. In fact, I show you that here we have the three folders that we did the other time: build, install, and sources. Then we are going to the sources. And now it's time to download the x64 source code. We don't create any folders because the clone command does it for us. So git clone, and this is the URL. So https://code.videoline.org/videoline/x264.git. If you want to perform a so-called shallow copy, so you won't only take the current state, so without taking the history, because with this we also download the current code, but also all the history to bring up to the current code. Here, to take the current code only, you can put a --depth1, and so you can get a leaner, faster, lighter downloader, but you don't have everything. In fact, sometimes when I'm compiling, also sometimes it gives some problems. So I give the complete clone. It doesn't take so long, you will see. And then I click enter. I tap enter on my keyboard, and here I have everything. So here in the ls, there is everything. And now it's time to go to the build folder. So we can go up one level. We are in the build, and then we are going to the build folder. Once we are in the build folder, we've got to create a folder called x264. So we're trying to mirror what we have in the sources. So sources, installed, and build, we have the same folder structures inside. Okay, we have the x264 inside. Let me clear a little to be tidy. And then we enter. Good. Now it's time to get the configure command. So the configure command is under sources. First thing we got to configure, which will be a compiler. So cc, capital case, equal to cl. Then we take the place where there is the configure. So we got to go up 2 levels. So x264 build, and then we go to sources, then x264 configure. Good. Here we got to put the prefix where we are going to install everything, both executables and the libraries, and the package config files that will be useful for later if you want to reuse something from x264, but also the other libraries. We are making the package config. So we have a prefix as before, // installed, and x264. Then we want to, as we said, compile in static mode. So what we need to do is to go to -- enable -static. Okay. Then if you don't want any application as output, you can put that -- disable -CLI. Otherwise, you can remove it. Then you have the enable debug, because we want everything compiled in debug mode. And then now we have the extra C flags. What do? So they will put something more for the compiler. So if we put the enable debug, it should do everything, but only if you have, for example, MingGW or GCC, something like that. So it has all the flags that it needs to put for the debug mode. But it doesn't work so well if you want to compile with MSVC. So here we put some other flags to tell the software what to do to compile them as we want. First of all, we put MT. What is MT? MT compiles in static mode. Otherwise, you got to put MD if you want to compile in not static mode, in dynamic. Okay, then since we want the debug, we put a lowercase d. We have a capital O that tells about the optimization. We don't want optimization for later, so we put a small d -od -zi. So this is to put the debug code in a separate file, in a PDB file that will be consulted later as soon as you open it, for example, with Visual Studio. And then we have -RTC, all capital 1. What does it do? This will put all the warnings as errors, especially if you are compiled. So instead of having errors and warnings in runtime, you have them a bit before in compile time. So this will be able to identify something like initialized variables, something like that, before instead of after. So in order to avoid surprises. Maybe it's not so much of our interest since we're not using x264 inside, but just to have everything compliant and the same everywhere, we are doing it. So minus RTC1 and then minus W4. This increases the level of warnings. This increases the level of logging to have a flood of messages, but in the end, it might help us at debugging better. Okay, so last thing, we have the extra LD flags. These are the flags that will be assigned while linking. And here we put simply a dash debug, all capital case. So everything should be fine. Here we can press enter. And here it configures everything for us. Just a moment, you will see also the, let's say, summary of what it's going to compile. Okay, so this is what we're going to have, the platform, byte order, little endian. So we have the processor, I have an Intel processor. So little endian and Windows CLI, yes, otherwise it will be no if we don't put the enable debug. Then, okay, libx264 internal, shared no, static yes, bash completion no. So everything with all the filters, GPL yes, thread Win32, OpenCL yes. And then if you want to disable the filters, so here it's not so much of our interest, there are, so it doesn't hurt. Then debug yes, and that's it. So I think in here we can go with a make, and then make will compile everything. Okay, so here we're finished, and the last thing that we can do is to take a make install. So this will transfer all the significant files that can be used in an external application for importing the libx264 inside that folder there. So if you're going to levels up, we are going to the installed, you will see that inside there is an x264 because it has been created by the make install before. We can go inside and see that we have the bin, include, and lib. In this case, we're going to the bin, we have x264. If you're going to the lib, we have the pkg config that we use later, but also the libx64.lib. In fact, .lib in Windows means static. So you will find either, the .lib in Windows usually. And also you have the include. Include, you have the source that you need to include while you're working with these libraries. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we cannot test the libraries yet, but we can test the application. So what you can do is to go in the installed. Okay. Yeah, in the installed x264 folder, so we can go to the bin folder. We have x264. First of all, I want to try the video. So the video we're going to use is the following. So it's a new one. So the tractor will put the video where you can download it in the description. And so I use MPV this time to visualize it, to play it. And this is the video. So you have a tractor moving around. Okay, so what we want to use is this video as input. And what we are using is x264. So here this time we don't have any input file. So if we put in -help, we have a bit of help about what we can use. So we have some starter flags. The one that we use also in FFmpeg. And the syntax is very similar. What we can do is x264 minus crf, let's say 18, so constant rate factor. Then we can set the preset in this way. We put slow, and we got to put the output in this way. Output, let's say, okay, that the folder will be the same. It is in my desktop video. And tractor.mp4. And the input, so here we have minus output as the output. While here we got to put the input without parameters. It's a bit the opposite of FFmpeg. With FFmpeg we put the -i with the input file and nothing as output. Here we put the minus output and nothing as input for the input file. So let's see. It is working. So it's not compiled for the output support. So let's put, let's say, mkv. Because take in consideration this thing that the MP4 doesn't work for x264 as it is. Okay, now it's making the video little by little. Okay, so now the video finished. Let's see if you can play it. This is the brand new video that we just generated, and it works. So here we go. So it's working more than fine. Cool. Okay, so far we saw how to compile libx264 ready for later. And we also tested the application that comes out. So I got to tell that the application is not mandatory. So the application you can put it only if you want a standalone thing. And in that case, if you want to, for example, debug x264, you have everything ready. If you don't want to use the debug application, so don't generate it or generate it in release mode. So remove all the debug flags and all the compiling details regarding the debug. And so that's it. So you're ready to rock and roll already. Let's go on to the next step. The next step will be the other libraries. So next will be libx265. So for the moment, thank you very much for watching if you reached up to this point. And if you like it, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified about the next videos I'll be releasing. And see you next time for other content regarding multimedia, but not only. Bye, ciao.